First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here, and it's very good to hear the link with the previous panel where you can see already the energy end users, consumers, which were doing a very good link towards what I'm going to discuss, because I'm going to talk about biomethane, I'm going to talk about hydrogen, I'm going to talk about the future usage of the whole system that we are operating. And it's always very interesting to hear the link when the gas infrastructure is stepping in and the questions related to Putin and to the war that started. But it's actually true, and we are very proud of what we achieved last year, because the message is we saved Europe, and this is exactly what happened, right? Because last year when the war started, actually everybody was looking at the possibilities, diversification, LNG, storages, a lot of number of activities, and the European policy framework was set. And basically that was all to regulate and to put a certain measurements how, let's say, gas infrastructure can deliver properly. And this is what we did, right? Enormous increase of the LNG infrastructure terminals, investments in this perspective. Of course, a lot of measures in relation to the level of storage. Basically, what happened is that the European Commission wanted to have, and still wants to have, indeed, this will stay, 90% of filling of the gas storages, which has to be, let's say, reached by 1st of November, so basically the start of the heating year. And we are proud to say that that was something that we reached already in August. So basically, as nowadays, we are almost 100% full of storages. So you can see that in political landscape, let's say, where there is a will, there is a way. Yeah. And the German government showcased it very well in these regards by taking a decision overnight about, huge investments in LNG terminals. Now we have in Europe 30 operational.
Sorry, just to interrupt for a second. I mean,
yes.
the German decision made almost overnight, and pretty impressive actually, yeah. Because a previous decision they made was to stop nuclear. Was that a mistake?
Well, it's a political decision. It's based country by country. So indeed, every member state have a different speed of the decarbonization processes, which cannot be, of course, equal. And every member state his own government, and basically their political decision that they can take, right? So country to country it varies. For example, I'm coming in Bulgaria, right? And basically we cannot have the same speed in relation to decarbonization like, let's say, the Netherlands has, right? Like France, Spain, Germany as well. So the discussions there and the amount of investments in hydrogen network is enormous, which is not the case in my country, which we are still debating, let's say, diversification. And I'm very proud that actually next year, when the crisis started and all the situation occurred, finally the interconnector grids Bulgaria came into to be operational. So there is an important element that we have to bear and to have in mind when we talk about the whole European gas infrastructure, right? Because we so far talk about security of supply. And security of supply is a key, and it's very important to keep the system very balanced, to make sure that there is no disruption in the system, and to make sure that everything functions well, which we mentioned and we managed very well last year, because this is what we do the best. But on the other hand, there is so much happening on, let's say, European energy landscape, and basically we have to decarbonize, right? But these two things need to come hand by hand. Yeah. And it's important because so far natural gas, indeed, it's what the European gas infrastructure is transporting, importing, and storing. But basically there is an enormous amount of investment, let's say, being a more colorful and more, let's say, flexible system in future. And here, where it's stepping in the biomethane, hydrogen, and also synthetic gases, right? And this dance, because we need to have something that is well sector coupling, right? System integration, where you have the two systems, so electrification, which goes without a question, right? Renewables, and basically going hand by hand very well with what the gas infrastructure can do as a backboning, let's say, this system.
But how do you visualize I'm not sure transition is the right word, but I mean, the increase in the use of hydrogen? I mean, hydrogen is a wonderful idea, but it hardly exists at the moment. I mean, you have green hydrogen in principle. You have a few prototype efforts. I mean, what's your vision for, say, 10 years from now? What will be the hydrogen?
Well, you have a certain targets for that, right? Set by the European policymakers. Indeed, hydrogen was one of the favorite babies, let's say, of the European policy makers, and especially named Timmermans, right? But I think it's indeed a very good solution, right? And it's a solution which is very much feasible within the European let's say, gas infrastructure on which you have enormous amount of investments placed, right? And this system can be used for, let's say, the transportation, but also storing the hydrogen. Basically, LNG terminals are also working a lot on the perspective how that could be feasible. Now the new LNG terminals are actually also hydrogen ready, right? This is important. So, actually, we need to decarbonize, right? You have a certain amount of policy decision, name it REPowerEU, Fit for 55, and now the hydrogen and decarbonized gas package, which are all speaking about the important role of hydrogen. What is important, what is missing, what you're saying actually, what you started with, is actually the hydrogen market. And this is something that has to develop properly, but what we would like to make sure is that proper innovation and proper investments are taking place. And basically, I think last month already it was the start of, let's say, building the whole infrastructure lines in the Netherlands, and it's the same which is going to happen in Germany. And we are talking here about 10,000 of kilometers of hydrogen infrastructure, which is a lot. And then, of course, the possibilities that the gas storages, underground storages, are having for the moment to make sure that they are also, transformed of storing renewables and storing, let's say, hydrogen and being the backbone for the flexibility, let's say, of the renewables. It's also a very important element here.